You twat. I think you are completely missing the point, and the fitness industry is cooked, which is a bold way to start a video. But hello, despite that comment, I hope you're well. I'm going to yap for maybe the next 10 minutes, but it might be worth saying because I think there's going to be something of value in here. So let's jump into it. Training in the gym the other day, and I saw a couple of lads, I think similar age to me. I'm not that sure, I'm never the best at judging ages, right? And they've got good physiques, they've got decent physiques, right? I'll say decent, I'll bring it down a little bit because I'll say decent and I'll bring it back a little bit because objectively, right, obviously this is subjective, right, to whose body you prefer or whatever it might be, but objectively slightly bigger than them, slightly leaner. I've got an objectively better physique, right? This is a great opening for a video. I'm just gloating about myself, right? I promise that's not what this is about, right? But objectively a better physique, and I've seen them, they train really hard, and to be fair, I'd seen it's good progress from them, right? Then the other day I overheard them talking about what their current cycle was. Now I'm not the most well educated, right, but I know there was at least 4 different drugs in there of dosages, which to me, from the limited things that I do know, sounded quite high. And given they were sort of a similar age as well, I couldn't help but think, what is the point of that? What has led them to make the decision to take something which could be dangerous to achieve a physique which is frankly mid? Where's that come from? Right, you can't see my physique now, I'm deliberately hiding it, right? And this, the reason for why I'm hiding it, I'm going to come on to later in the video as well, because I want to discuss that a little bit more. But you've taken something which is very dangerous, can take years off your life, costs money, right? Not as much as you'd think, right? I probably shouldn't tell you that because that might glorify it or romanticize it, but it's actually quite cheap from what I know. I'm natural, obviously, but you've basically completely complicated the process for yourself. At least if you're going to do it intelligently, right? You can do it stupidly and just do what your mate says, but that probably means that you're going to run into health issues even sooner, right? All to achieve something which you could have, in fact, probably definitely achieved naturally, right? But why haven't you, right? Let's look at something else. I ended up in a TikTok debate the other day. Jesus. No, I think I'm a person that doesn't mind being challenged on my beliefs or things that I think, because I think that's what debate's for, right? You speak about these things, you try and get closer to what the truth is, right? I'm not one of these people that, at least I try not to personally attach myself to whatever an idea or belief that I have is, because then whenever somebody challenges that, I'm going to feel like I'm getting personally attacked. There's going to be an emotional reaction there. And the thing is, they could actually be right. And then not only have I come out of that exchange getting hurt, but I'm also wrong, right? My tail's between my legs and I'm wrong. Not ideal. But it was on this new topic of fatigue management in the gym, right? Which frankly I think is just fucking ridiculous, right? You've probably seen these things on TikTok recently about no more than 8 reps to avoid getting fatigue. Where's the spoon? Am I just supposed to... I'll be back. But TikTok debate, right? So I expressed the opinion that I think not doing more than 8 reps to manage your fatigue and see better gains overall is just a fucking ridiculous idea. And one of the points that I made was world-class bodybuilders, Olympians, they do more than 8 reps within their programmings, right? And the instant response was, oh, well, they're on loads of gear. Elite genetics, da 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 da. My comeback point was, at no point in my training, apart from when I was strength training, which is a completely different goal to hypertrophy training, do they ever only do less than 8 reps. I've never struggled to put on muscle. Or at least I only did when I hit my plateau kind of a couple of years in. I said, look at what the elite natural bodybuilders do. It's been known for ages, right, that rep range between 5 and 30 are effective, and there are times to use both high reps, there are times to use low reps as well. There are times to use different rep ranges. But anyway, it's about this big old debate. Got some comments challenging me on it. I think it's stupid. I think it's mass retardation of the TikTok algorithm. And it comes to my next point, short form content. I fucking hate it for the fitness industry. Why? Because the more outlandish something that you say is, the more stupid, frankly, that something that you say is, it gets more views. Positive feedback loop, people speak about it more, people see the topics that are doing well, they want us to talk about those topics as well. Even choosing to talk about that is cutting that gain to some extent, because I knew that it was going to get some pushback because some people genuinely believe this. But these are just 2 examples of people missing the fucking point when it comes to your training journey, right? It's just shortcut seeking. Ultimately, that's what it is. It's seeking shortcuts. When I used to play video games, right, I remember some video games would have a cheat code system, right, where you could do a certain thing on a controller and you could instantly either achieve special powers or you get the best thing in the game, right? You could accelerate your character's development right to the very end instantly, right? And when you initially got these things, maybe you hadn't seen that cheat code before, maybe you'd not completed or beat the game before, and you get all this new shiny stuff, and in the beginning it's amazing, right? It's fun for maybe 10 minutes, right? But what happens after 10 minutes? You're bored. Progression's run out. Where'd you go now? And it's in that very word, the journey, right? Think about one of your favourite songs, right? I think about the best songs. If everything done quickly, or you get to the end point was the best thing, right? The best songs would be the shortest ones. Why those songs exist? There are songs that are like 2 seconds long. Can you name them? No, because they're not the best songs. And part of the beauty of music, but also it's analogous here as well, is the things that you learn along the way, the person that you become. I remember back in the day, in YouTube history, a lot of the most popular influencers were completely different sort of styles of content, right? Gregor Gallagher was one of my favourite ones back in the day. Not the biggest of guys, right? By today's standards, the physique is, don't get me wrong, it's fucking good. His is better than mine. But by these days, it's not the biggest of guys, right? But his whole message was about using training as a platform to, yes, get some confidence, build a powerful physique, one that looked good, right? Movie star, body style. But it's because what that could do for life, right? Because you were training to live, not living to train anymore. But modern day fitness industry is just fucking, it's just cooked. Absolutely cooked. Short form content has ruined it, because it's all very surface level, just who looks the best, right? Who has the craziest physique, who's willing to take the most steroids, who's willing to sacrifice the most. Which, don't get me wrong, I love that mentality, right? I want to try bodybuilding at some point, and if I'm going to try that, I'm going to have to live that lifestyle for a time, right? But at present, I can't see myself ever making the decision to take gear. Why? Because it's not worth it. But then I know there are people out there, kids younger than me, that because of these insecurities, because of these comparisons that they make through social media, they've got teenagers taking steroids. It's up until the point they ultimately make that decision that can completely change the course of their lives. They're avoiding doing the hard work, which would have got them the results that they're seeking, that they're then using steroids as a band-aid over. They're avoiding that by trying to find optimal exercises and trying to manage fatigue. Honestly, get a grip, ultimately. That's the best advice I can give. It's like these people that have bootstrap, and if they have a bad recovery score, they don't train the next day. Or they just decide it's going to be a bad day, right? Not to get old with 1 year, but even just your mentality around things, the mindset that you go into doing something, can have like profound effects on how well it occurs, right? Don't do this, but I've had sessions after a heavy night of drinking, still taking training progressions. I've had sessions on like 3-4 hours of sleep, still being quality sessions, right? If I was so worried about fatigue management, I might have gone, I can't train today, right? We all intrinsically know this, that sometimes you're going to have to do things even when it's not optimal to do them. You've got a life, you've got a job, you have a family, a missus, a friends, other hobbies, right? You've got other things going on. You can't always follow the optimal plan, you just can't. Even me, who is way more important to me than it probably even is you, because it's tied to my income, it's tied to my future career, and yet even I don't try and follow what's optimal all the time. To save time for other things, right? My coaching work, which I guess is on the same lines, but until like the last few weeks of the diet, I'm still going to have off-plan food with them. I'm still going to do this, I'm still going to do that. Because sometimes I think it's paralysis by analysis, and the interesting thing actually is those that try and optimize too much, right? Or try and perfect everything. I had this with a lot of my clients, right? Where if things don't go perfectly, they just come right, and they just think, well, what the fuck's the point, right? I didn't train all of last week, I'm not going to start training this week. Or they might even think, well, it's Friday now, and I haven't even got a single session in yet, so I'm just going to wait till Monday, because it's a bad week. I've had a bad night of sleep, so I'm just going to focus on recovery this weekend. I managed to get the right food in, so I'm just going to get a takeaway and just throw it all out the window. Right, where's this coming from? You need to get away from the perfectionism, right? Because ultimately, what should your training journey be about? Health, longevity, a hobby that you find fun, keeping you fit, keeping you healthy, becoming social, right? Everyone's in the gyms these days, right? The same people that are fucking arguing with me on TikTok, talking about fatigue management, talking about all this bullshit. They're the ones in between sets on their phone scrolling on TikTok, right? And what could be the 1.5, maybe even less than that if you're training weights properly, hour of your day where you can actually just focus on yourself and make it a form of meditation, right? But everyone's fucking glued to their phone, right? Looking for the next shortcuts. Now, fatigue management. Bro, you don't need fucking fatigue. You're on TikTok for fucking 2 minutes a time. Fucking 10 minutes between sets on TikTok. Fucking joke. Anyway, I'm going to try not to get too riled up, right? because there is a message here. But it comes back to my point, right? You want to get a training result, right? You want to achieve a thing within training. But because of the wealth of information out there, it's just so confusing, right? It's a shitstorm. Frankly, you probably already know some of the things that you should be doing, right? Most people understand the basics of progressive overload. Most people understand generally how much protein you need, how many calories you need, how a calorie deficit works, right? They understand how they can structure some meals. They've got some ability to cook to some extent, right? You actually know how to do these things, right? But the very fact that I have a job as a coach is because even though people know the general basis, they still don't take action on it. That's what I find really funny, right? Is there's this a bit of a fear mongering in the industry that like, oh, ChatGPT is going to replace coaches, right? No, it's not. I'm not scared of it. At least not right now. Not the state that it's in. I can get the perfect training plan from ChatGPT. Cool. If you come to me for coaching, you're not paying for a training plan. You're not paying for a meal plan. You do get those things. Those things are tools, and ultimately, they are necessary to get a result. To some extent, you could also go off basic principles and probably still get a result, right? Not everybody always had meal plans. Not everybody even knew how to track food all the time. Or the perfect training plans. Eugene Sando still got a fucking incredible physique, right? Probably never tracked his food. But anyway, you probably know the basics, right? But that's what you're paying for. You're paying for accountability. You're paying for a human that's going to stand shoulder to shoulder with you to figure out the plan for what your lifestyle is, right? And look, if you don't want to coach, you don't want to invest in a coach, right? That's not what this is. It's not a hard sell, but you need to begin to look at your training journey in this standpoint, right? Because you're too busy chasing optimal, perfect, right? Picking your plan apart, changing it all the time, right? You're not a fucking Olympian, you're a human being who probably for them, this is a hobby, right? You just want to get a little bit fitter, a little bit leaner. Even for people like myself, who are trying to basically achieve what is the best thing possible as a natural, right? The best thing you can do is have something that doesn't make you feel like shit, is sustainable, is going to help with longevity and your health. Because guess what? If those two things go in the bin, you're going to stop after a while. Why would you keep doing it? You're not getting paid for it. Even top bodybuilders don't make that good of a wage. It's only top, 0.01% or whatever it is. They're even making a livable wage from it, right? Unless you monetize social media. But then, in order to do that, unless you're extremely fortunate, you're probably part of the fucking problem. But you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You're chasing perfect. You're trying to sacrifice too much. It doesn't say that you shouldn't sacrifice anything, because that's part of the journey. That's part of turning into a better person, right? You develop more discipline. You can beat some vices. You can beat some bad habits. Those are good things. Those aren't bad things, right? But if you do it for as long to the point where you fucking hate it, right? I heard a quote the other day from Alex Hormozy, which basically said that the reason that sometimes, not all the time, but the reason that sometimes people burn out is because the size of the reward doesn't correlate to the amount of effort that you're putting in, right? Yes, you're going to get a good physique out of it, but is that worth it if you barely see family, barely see friends, can't enjoy a meal with someone? If you're sacrificing 6 days a week in the gym, why? For the majority of my training journey, I'll probably average 3 to 4. And again, I would argue top 10% in the gym. Not top 1% yet, but probably top 10% for sure. Theo, why are you jumping to steroids? Why are people jumping to steroids, I should say, not you personally? Unless you are, then maybe this is an opportunity to put up a bit of a mirror. And I'm not even anti-steroids particularly. Maybe I am a little bit. Because I just think the reasons why most people take them is the wrong reason. I think if you're competing, you've got potential, sure, go for it, push those limits, power to you. But otherwise, why? If you're still able to progress as a natural, why would you try and get to the end point quicker? And as we've discussed in the beginning, you're going to do this dangerous thing, and it won't always be given to you. People have this opinion that steroids are going to magically turn your physique into an elite level. No, it's not. You still got to work for it. And you've just endangered your health for a mid-physique. Congratulations. That's what I do with my clients, right? We communicate together. So between us, with two-way communication, where on the scale of do whatever the fuck you want, hope for the best, up to the optimal perfect plan, we need to determine where on that scale you exist, right? You need to figure this out as well. And it's not set in stone. You might get more disciplined as time goes on. And you can even learn to enjoy those things as you take away more bad habits, more bad vices. I've probably been giving you this cheap dopamine. Being more disciplined does feel rewarding, and to your brain, you're willing to do that, right? But you might start the way over here, that's fine. Start small. Train to fucking enjoy training, move your body, get some blood flowing, feel the endorphins for the first time in what could be years, right? For fuck's sake, whatever you do, I'd say stop trying to learn fitness content from short form content, or stop trying to educate yourself on fitness from short form content, which is interesting because I make it, right? But I just love-hate relationship with it lately. You probably want to do more of this, right? I think short form content's bad. I think social media is in generally a net negative, and that's clear from the way that politics is now. from the levels of divisiveness online, anxiety, depression caused by internet use, right, social media, phone addiction. But go into your settings now on your iPhone and see what your screen time is, right? You'll probably intrinsically know that it's higher than it should be. And then you go ahead and ask ChatGPT, right, your best friend, about the links between phone addiction, phone usage, and anxiety, depression, just generally feeling shit, right? And for the most part, people probably aren't addicted to videos like this. If you're even still watching this at this point, you're a real one, right? I don't know, comment the word fucking orange below so I know you watched it. And if you did, I owe you a high five at some point. But you're not addicted to that, it's the short form content. And again, this is where just stupid stuff just goes viral. And I mean, that does happen in long form as well, but closing statement. Stop looking for shortcuts. Stop looking to get educated with short form content that's easy to digest. Maybe learn from some experience. Try it out for yourself. Do the boring work, right? For at least a little bit of time. At least enough that you can manage for now, right? To enjoy that journey. Stop bulking to ridiculous levels that you feel unhealthy, you feel unwell. Stop, unless you're actually doing a photo shoot where there's an actual reason for it. Why are you getting shredded for? Tanking yourself for no reason. You should be training to better your life, not sacrifice everything in the attainment of a physique, which, especially the deep end, most people don't even want, right? I do genuinely believe that most people, unless you are really dealt a bad hand with genetics, which on the bell curve, right, the normal distribution is a very small percentage of people out there, you could build something incredible, phenomenal even, as a natural, but it is going to take years. Which brings me to my point. Train in a way that you enjoy, that's going to bring joy to your life, right? Fuck doing your cardio on the treadmill. Play five-a-side once a week. I just got a bike recently. Love it, right? Biking to and from work. I'll never need to do cardio again, right? In terms of your training, stop worrying about what's optimal. Bench press is fun, do bench press. No need to do all the fucking cable bullshit, right? People got jacked before we knew all of this, and people will still get jacked using those methods, right? Now, to finish, let me show you something. I realise on what already seems like maybe a pretentious video, talking about physiques, me being better than people on steroids, I'm going to humble myself now, okay? Live on camera. Because I've posted this sometimes, but not what you're about to see, anyway. Because this is probably going to go terribly, but it's to prove a point. See? One more time. So let me slow it down. So we're not going full speed. Alright, you get the idea. Chorus or verse, I don't know. No, chorus. Hurt by Johnny Cash, right? Because you probably could barely fucking tell, right? So that's a song I've been trying to learn since I started playing guitar, and I've been playing, I think actually, it's a long time ago now that my brother actually gifted me the first guitar, and it's not this one, it's one that is upstairs. It's an electric guitar, so obviously this is an acoustic, which is Josh's, my best mate and housemate. I think it's one of his first guitars actually. Anyway, the point being, I'm trying to learn that song for like a long period of time, right? And obviously that is nowhere near perfection, right? This is being able to play the song perfectly, someone who's ever picked up a guitar would probably hear, right? I've at least learnt the chords, right? The transitions are a bit shitty, right? Even the way that I fret sometimes is not perfect. If I really take my time, I can get them perfectly. But trying to do that right when I'm trying to play is still a little bit away from me, right? But I remember the first bar chord being this one. Fuck, see what I mean? We try one more time. So a bar chord is where you basically, most people aren't going to understand, right? But you have to basically use this finger to pull down all these strings at once, and it's very hard to do, basically, at least for a beginner. And you have to try and find these frets as well, and it should sound. There you go. That's what it should sound like. But before it was sound like this. Alright, because I didn't have the ability, I didn't have the strength yet. Even in the beginning, when I was trying to find chords and I was trying to fret them, right, I didn't realise I had to use the tips of my fingers. I was using my whole pad of my finger, and I was thinking, how do you push one string down without touching the others? Because if you touch a string, it mutes it. Right, it just sounds like this. Don't touch it, it sounds like this. So all these little things I had to learn across the way. Right, so we get a little bit closer to playing this song, right? And in learning all those things, it's taken a lot of time, it's taken practice, it's been frustration. I've had to take time to actually see how somebody else does it, and I've had to research and be like, why does my chord sound like that? Right, because maybe I had to learn that you had to ideally fret closer to the next nudge, because then it rings out better. If you do it here, it sounds shit, do it closer. Another song that I was trying to learn is Redemption Song by Bob Marley, and the start is like this finger picking pattern, Jesus. And again, this is probably gonna go terribly as well. And even doing that was like trying to find the frets over here while picking the proper strings over there. Very difficult to do. Frustration, took time, right? Somebody came to me now and said, if you click your fingers, you'll be instantly good at guitar. I wouldn't take it. Why? Because there's a lot, the same as there is in training, right? Learning how to achieve a good physique, learning the nutrition protocols, learning the training philosophies, all of that, learning how to do all of that. That's worthwhile. That learning, right, is worth, right, the cost, the time investment, the energy, right? A lot of people don't think that, because everybody now just wants the answer, right? They want the shortcut. ChatGPT, what's the perfect way to do this? TikTok, what's the perfect way to do this? I can learn everything I need to learn in a 60-second short, in a 60-second reel, right? It doesn't work that way. It might at some point, right? With this idea of putting like Neuralink, right? This is one of Elon Musk's ideas, right? Which is probably terrible. Is putting this chip into people's brains, right? And they'll be able to like basically interface with the internet, right? So instead of having to go to ChatGPT, I always say like it's a continuum, right? So back in the day, back in caveman times, right? Ugbug knew how to make leather clothing from skin, right? And you took right, and you'd fucking communicate with Ugbug, and he could teach you, he could show you, right? That could happen, right? But you'd have to be near Ugbug, right, to learn it, right? There's probably somebody on the opposite side of the planet, right, after humans kind of spread out, yeah. They've learned other things, right? They've learned things, but you had to be right there, right? And then books became a thing, right? We could put written text, right? So somebody could figure out how to do a thing, they could come up with an idea, they could come up with some philosophy, right? Somebody reads about it on the other side of the planet, that information has been relayed, right? But you had to find the book, right? And to find a book back in the day, what did you have to do? You had to go to a library, right? Maybe a library didn't have your book, you had to go travel somewhere else, you had to travel to get the information. Then the internet came out. You don't have to travel anywhere. You've got the entire library of human knowledge available at your fingertips, right? Which you'd think in theory meant anybody could do anything, but they still can't, right? Because experience is the biggest teacher, right? But at some point that might change, because you might have this chip in your brain and you can just download the guitarist software and you can just instantly become, You could just instantly become you might be able to just instantly become world-class guitarist. But I think that completely takes away, well, it takes away a lot of things. Right, everyone can just do everything. That sounds boring to me. You won't have these masters of their craft anymore, right? I like the fact that as a coach, I've put thousands upon thousands of hours. I've studied, I've researched all these different things. I've then done it myself. I've then taken clients through that same experience. I've cultivated this wealth of knowledge and expertise that I can then share with the world, right? And that brings value to me, right? Whether that's a good or a bad thing, either way, if you can just download the coaching software right into your little brain chip and be a world-class coach overnight, what's the point in doing anything anymore, right? Just get everything handed to you on a plate. And as I've said a million times in my content and other things, I think hard things, right, struggle, painful things are actually the kind of what make life, not to be a bit zesty, but that's what makes life meaningful, right? Is you do the fly. It's just what gives life meaning, right? Is you go through this hardship and you've got this reward at the end, right? That's beautiful to me, right? I'm still shit at guitar, but I'm not as shit as I was in the beginning, right? And at some point in the distant future, I'll be able to play that song. And I'll have such a sense of achievement knowing that it's taken thousands upon thousands of hours, maybe not thousands of hours for that song, but it will have taken a long time and a lot of research to achieve that thing, and I will feel good about it and it'll be worthwhile. If I could just download the music chip, right, as I was talking about with video games before, it'll be fun to play guitar for a bit of time, but then, I don't know, after a while I'll probably get boring. So, the point of the video that I was trying to get to is, at least in the time being, we don't have that. So, stop searching for like the fucking optimal, right? You can figure it out as you go, right? It is the reason that I've got a job, right? Is to just help people guide through what is that difficult process, because at least right now, these shortcuts that you think you're trying to find, right? The perfect training split, the perfect diet plan, you're going to jump on the gear, don't give a fuck about the consequences. It's not even really going to give you what you truly want, right? That's the point. Anyway,